This podcast is sponsored by Systems Accountants, a specialist global resourcing solutions company focused exclusively on accounting technology and finance transformation.
Finding a job can be a stressful moment in any person's life, but knowing exactly what career is best suited to each individual is perhaps more of a difficult task. Thankfully, there are people in this world like David Peace, who is the director of Chespond Business and Careers Services in the United Kingdom. David, thanks for chatting with us here at the Rugby Business Network.
No, thanks very much for inviting me to chat. It's something I feel quite strongly about, so I'm happy to talk about it.
Perfect. Well, David, before we speak about your role at Chespond, many of our members at the Rugby Business Network will most likely know you for the work you do as the coordinator for the organisation in Scotland. Why did you decide to become part of the Rugby Business Network family in January last year?
It's something that again, it is one of my beliefs, is that having played the game for most of my adult life, I was looking to put something back into it, and the Rugby Business Network, with its ethos and beliefs, fit that very well. And when I was speaking to the chaps down in England, my simple question to them was, why are there no meetings in Scotland? To which Colin replied, well, see if you can resolve that. And I took on sorting it out and getting it up and running in Scotland. So it's something that is quite close to what I believe in.
Mm-hmm. Well, your particular area of focus within the Rugby Business Network is the Life After Rugby program. How has the past year been in Scotland in terms of helping professional and retired players transition into business?
It's been, we've only been operating in Scotland fully active in Scotland for just over a year, as you were saying. Mm-hmm. And it's really been a question of raising the profile and letting people know that this facility is available. I've done a lot of work with the Scottish Rugby Union and in particular the Scotland 7 squad. Mm-hmm. And it's something that the SRU have increasingly become aware that they need to do something about, but they haven't really had the resources to do it themselves. Mm-hmm. So when I come along with the TRBN backing and say, look, we can help you with this, they've been very keen to talk. There haven't been that many people gone through it yet, but those that have been really appreciative. And to be honest, they've been surprised at how effective what we're able to do for them and help them with can be. They obviously have very good contacts in the likes of media and things like this, but when it comes to actually talking about a real job and what they might and might not be able to do, they don't have a huge amount of guidance. And the specialisms that we can help them with from within the Rugby Business Network really give them the options they wouldn't otherwise get.
Well, in your opinion, how do you think businesses can put back into rugby sustainably? Is it only by providing their services through programs like Life After Rugby, or are there other ways?
No, absolutely. There's a myriad of other ways, the most simple of which is merely supporting your local grassroots rugby club. It doesn't matter what level they play, whether they're veterans playing a social game or whether they're in the Premiership playing elite pro rugby. And by support, I mean even something as simple as going along and watching them, but preferably speaking to the club and saying, look, how can I help? And I'm not talking here necessarily about finances, although that's obviously always very welcome. But help can be provided in a number of other ways. Coaching, putting your experience back into the club, helping out with the business plan and the sort of marketing of the club. All these kind of things are desperately needed because grassroots clubs are run by volunteers. There's no money involved, and any assistance they can get back is very, very welcome.
From what you are saying, it's clearly evident that you have a passion for rugby and business. What is your background in these areas, and how do the two overlap in your life?
They overlap tremendously. Yes, I played rugby at a reasonable level, at the Scottish Premier level, in my dim and distant past. And then I graduated into the veterans game and set up a veterans team for, I'll give them a quick plug, a very, very good sociable club called Edinburgh Northern, who, as the name suggests, operate in the north of Edinburgh. And we had many years of great fun touring and playing as a veterans side, culminating in appearance at the Worldwide Golden Oldies Festival in 2008 at Murrayfield. And I think there was something like 130 clubs from around the world represented there. And that was probably my swan song. And then I retired from playing because my body was telling me I should. And as my sons have grown, and my daughter too, and decided they wanted to take up rugby, I've then got involved in coaching. And coach teenagers at Melrose Rugby Club, which is a very famous club for anyone in the rugby circles. But in terms of business, the theme that runs through everything is coaching. I talk about coaching the kids at rugby, but also coaching is what I do for a business. I help people maximize, make the most out of their abilities in their careers. If they're wanting to change career, we look at how that can be done, whether it's realistic, what extra qualifications, if any, they will need, and all these kind of things. But also, they might believe that their best option is to change career, but actually when we sit down and talk, they realize that the reality is more that they're not doing what they're doing at the moment correctly in the best way they can. And so just tweaking little things, maybe it's just their own personal approach, their mental approach. They haven't got the right mindset, so we can help them with that. Or it's more about the people around them. Do they need to understand the people around them more and therefore work better as a team? There are obviously instances where the best option is definitely to change career because these things can't be fixed. But all these things are all about coaching, making the best of the individual's abilities, helping them improve, constant improvement, positive mindset. All these things work on the field as well as off the field.
On the topic of careers coaching, career change and staff development in both companies and individuals, which is your field of expertise at Chespond, what attracted you to this form of business?
A circuitous route, I think, is the best description. I trained originally and worked as a chartered surveyor and worked in property for big companies, Stratton Parker and Jackson Stopps, in sort of rural, buying, letting rural country houses, farms, sporting estates, that kind of stuff. I did that for about 10 years and then moved on to management consultancy and worked for about another 10 years in management consultancy. There were various reasons why I switched switched industries, and why those two portions of my working life came to an end, but I won't bore you with those. In between times, I've also operated as an insurance claims investigator and also run a corporate event management company, and set up a shirt-making company. So I've had a very diverse background, and there was a realization that actually with this kind of experience in my own life, being made redundant a couple of times, all these different clients working across the public, private, and third sectors, that I had a huge amount of knowledge and experience which I could pass on. And it comes back again to what I was talking about earlier, coaching being the sort of the theme that runs through everything. I realized that I could coach people to not make the mistakes I'd made, to make the best of their own situations and their own abilities. And so I set up Chespond, and we work to help people make the best that they can of their own abilities.
Brilliant. Well, David, when we speak about career coaching, one might have the unrealistic image of you or one of your colleagues sitting there with a clipboard in one hand and a whistle in the other, delivering drills to the people that come to you for help. I'm sure it's not that type of coaching we're talking about, although the reality is that not everyone is in their most suitable position at a business, and not every team has the right members to be at its most productive, and therefore they need some assistance. Describe the process you follow when it comes to coaching an individual or a team in a business.
It's a question of listening, gathering the information in the first place, watching. And you're talking in a team situation on the field. You're talking about watching how people play, how they relate to the others around them, what their communication skills are. Do they listen to others? Are they always the one who, in their own mind, knows that they're right and therefore everyone else is wrong? All these kind of things, and that gives you a start point from where to work and how to work with that individual for the betterment of the team. In an individual situation, it's, again, an information gathering process in the first instance. You have to understand what the individual wants from their working life, what they're doing at the moment. Are they doing the right things at the moment? Are they actually causing, not problems, but are they actually causing things to go the wrong way for them themselves, or are there others around them that are causing that? And you start building this profile, you start understanding what this person or what this individual needs to get out of the working with us, the association with us, and you build from there. And it can be tough love. You can sit someone down and say, look, I'm sorry, you are the problem. I have had those conversations. They're never comfortable, and there are instances where people have stormed out, but there are more instances where people, when they've had time to reflect, have come back and said, actually, you're right, no one said that to me before, thank you very much, now I know what I need to do. So there is no straightforward answer to that, but it is basically about gathering the information in the first place and then working out a path that will work for the individual to get to where they want to go.
Fascinating. Well, David, you formed Chespond a little over 7 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. During this time, how often have rugby players or even other athletes come to your offices for career coaching, and what differences do you see in comparison to non-sportsmen and women?
It's actually very interesting. Sports people, elite sports people, have this fantastic mindset of constant improvement, using mistakes as a learning experience, not dwelling on them, moving forward. The work ethic is tremendous. They come in, they work hard in the gym or on the track or wherever, and they don't understand. A lot of them, some of them do, but a lot of them don't understand how that would transfer into business until you sit down and have the conversation with them and say, look, do you realize this is what drives business? These very attributes are the keys that will make you successful in business. But you have to also talk to them and explain to them that they're going into a new situation. They may have made it to the top of their chosen field, whether it's athletics, hockey, cricket, whatever, but now they're going in at the bottom level again, and they have to assimilate the way things are done in the office environment or the sales environment or whatever it may be, before they can understand how they can then progress up that ladder. So it's changing the mindset from being at the top, being successful, to, okay, you're going to be at the top, you're going to be successful again, but we're now taking a few steps backwards in order to go forwards. So there is a difference in mindset when you're talking to an elite athlete to when you're talking to someone who's worked all their life. When you're talking to someone who's worked all of their life, it can be a similar situation because they can believe that they have all the answers and they just need you to help open a new door for them. But the most successful ones are the ones who will listen to what they're being told, and will use it as I said earlier on, they're not afraid to make mistakes, so they're using this as a learning experience. They're using this as a way of avoiding the mistakes that might otherwise be made. So as I keep coming back to, the thread going through everything is the coaching mentality. You have to want to help people, you have to listen to what they want, and then you have to work out how you can best use your skills to help them achieve where they want to get to.
Well, you talk about a change in mindset. That is something that these athletes struggle to deal with once they are making that transition into business. And it touches on my next question about the challenges that you've noticed from people, whether or not they're rugby players. What other challenges are there when it comes to transitioning from one career to the next?
The challenge in the first instance is as simple as what are their options. A lot of them don't really understand what the options are, and there's almost a panic situation, particularly those who've been forced out of their sport through injury because they've been expecting to continue for a while longer, so they haven't even considered the possibility of a different career to the one they're following at the moment. So there is a certain amount of panic, and you have to deal with that. You have to sit them down and say, look, what we're talking about here is you provided, whether they've got a spouse, whether they've got children, these things only aggravate the panic, but they don't all have that. They can be just an individual looking out for themselves. And you have to sit them down and say, okay, you've had a fantastic career, you've got to where you are, brilliant, you've really worked hard and you've achieved. However, that portion of your life, through whatever reason, is now closed. We have to look at what you're going to do for the rest of your life. And you have to sort of walk them through that scenario. It's not necessarily easy. There can be uncomfortable moments in it because it's a question of being honest with themselves. And most of them are ready for that or will accept that, but some of them don't. And it's more about, as I said earlier on, listening, gathering the information, finding out a bit more about how that person ticks, how they see life, and then you adapt what you can do accordingly.
Finally, David, what can professional rugby players do before they retire from the game to give their CV a bit of a boost, which will benefit them massively when the time comes to transition into business?
The most simple thing is actually take the time, take a step back from what they're doing, because any elite athlete is 100% focused on their sport, and that is as it should be. But they have to take, whether it's an hour a week or an hour a day or even, just a day a month, whatever, they have to take that time and reflect and say, this isn't going to last forever. What am I going to do next? And if they start that thought process, that is absolutely invaluable while they're still playing, rather than leave it to when the whole thing finishes and they suddenly, as I said earlier, come into this panic situation. If they get themselves into the frame of mind that they know they have to do something else and they are prepared mentally to start again, then that is by far and away the biggest hurdle that they'll have to overcome. Even better if they can talk to someone from within their own organization or externally and see if there is a possibility of doing any form of internship, whether, as I say, it's a couple of hours, a day, a month, a week, whatever, just to get them to understand what the external workplace is like. And it can be something as simple as shadowing someone, maybe making the team, maybe doing the photocopying. It can be sitting in a boardroom with a director, hearing how the strategic thought process goes on. But just having that experience is absolutely invaluable when it comes to the next stage of their life.
Some fantastic advice right there. David, thank you for taking the time to enlighten us about the many positives and assistance career coaches can provide rugby players and others in need. Keep up the brilliant work you do at both Chespond and with the Rugby Business Network in Scotland.
Thanks very much for speaking to you, and hopefully we'll catch up again another time.